welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm Larry D. I'm here with my co-host Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad to be here in the Larry D studios.
We're here doing it once again for y'all.
That's right.
And tonight we got a special guest with us. He's our first phone-in call. We told you we were getting this technology. It's here. We're going to prove it to you.
But before we get to that, we got our weekly tradition.
That's right.
We got our little elixir, our magic serum that we like to take. It keeps us strong. It keeps us young.
Yes, it does. And for our third-party caller calling in, if you're familiar with what we do, we're going to just give a toast out to you.
Yep. We'll even drink one for you.
Right. Thanks for being on the show. Oh, okay. That's good.
Before we get rolling, how can they get a hold of us?
All right. Before we get started, we want you to subscribe to us. Hit that subscribe button. And if you got an haunting, an encounter, a squatch sighting, anything, or you just want to tell us we suck, like we always say, you could do that by emailing us at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com.
Right. You could even send us a picture of your mom. That'll work too.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we got a special guest with us tonight. His name is Randy. And we'll give you a little bit of information about Randy, a little background. He's in the healthcare industry. I won't tell you what he does because you'll have to call him personally, but that's another podcast.
Yeah, he's known in the circuit, he's known as Rehab Randy.
That's right. So if you know who he is, you know who he is. But for those of you out there, he's going to tell us about a sighting he had and what he thinks it is. And, we're going to welcome to the show, Randy. Hey, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, man, cool. Thanks for coming on. Now, we understand you had some type of encounter with you. What do you think you saw?
Well, when I was probably, I want to say about 12 years old. I was probably 12 going on 13. And, that I hear you guys are always talking about, New Mexico lore and all the things that happen in New Mexico. And this is a New Mexico story. Currently I'm in Arizona, but this is a New Mexico story. So when I was about 12, I was out, fishing with my cousin. And we're at this lake called McGaffey Lake. It's not a big lake, right? One side of it has a road that comes into the lake. The other side, the complete opposite side of the lake, is a mountainside. Fairly high mountain, it is nothing gargantuous, just a decent sized mountain. And we're sitting there fishing, and we're just hanging out and bullshitting. And he looks over and goes, "Man, what is that on the other side of the lake? What is that on the mountainside?" And we're looking, saying, "Damn, they're starting to move around." There was, I think, 3 or 4 of them, but there was these birds that, from the other side of the lake. Up on the mountainside, the trees look pretty small, and you can stick your thumb up, close one eye, and block out a tree. Right. Well, these birds were probably, from where we were sitting, they looked like about the size of a pretty large man, right? Good-sized man. What the hell is that? So as we're sitting there watching these birds start to flail their wings a little bit and kind of bow up and kind of perch up, and we're thinking, man, what are those? Are we freaking out here? What's going on? We weren't drinking, nothing, just hanging out, bullshitting. And so finally he goes, "You know what, dude? Let's get in the truck." So we get in the truck, and we're just kind of watching them. And these things were so big. One of them flew away, and when it flew away, its wingspan had to be 12 feet. It was huge, right? So we're like, what the hell? And later on, he told me, he said, the reason we got in the truck is because those birds were so big, I was afraid they were going to come and try to snatch you.
Right.
So, back then, there really wasn't heavy internet or anything like that. So doing research, kind of looking at books and things like that, looking at some encrypted books, which back then there wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't publicized how it is now, So as the years go by, we've talked about it several times, and we do research now, and come to find out, there's been several sightings, in that area, along the Continental Divide up into Colorado and whatnot. of these Thunderbirds. Right? These are birds that they're supposed to be like a prehistoric type bird, but there's stories of them, back from like the 1930s into the 1950s of them taking kids from neighborhoods.
Right.
So, the general consensus is, man, maybe we witnessed these Thunderbirds.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Randy. The story you're telling me about Thunderbirds, I've heard that from native folklore too. The tribes, there's certain tribes that I think the Zunis are one of them that know what a Thunderbird is. But I know for a fact that there's tribes out there that reference Thunderbirds, and they talk about them as big birds. I don't know exactly what their folklore with the Thunderbird is, but I mean, what you saw, that does sound like a Thunderbird.
Right. Now, when you had your sighting, it was daytime, right?
It was daytime.
Yeah.
In the middle of the day.
Yeah, no, because I've heard stories about them, but now they say it's a prehistoric bird. Now, does it have feathers or does it have skin, say like a pterodactyl?
Describe what you saw.
From what we saw, from what I remember, they had feathers. They were a feathered bird, big beaked, kind of like, I don't know, maybe a cross between an eagle and a raven looking type thing.
Right. That's cool.
Just big bodied, dark colored bird, right? And if you see a raven, you put a raven next to a crow. Ravens are huge birds. The raven flies over your head. You feel the wind from that thing. Imagine something like this that you can look across a lake.
Right.
I feel like you're looking at.
Hey, if a raven gets to you on the ground, it may be bigger than a crow, but if that thing starts pecking you, you're going to run.
Yep, and we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see who has a bigger pecker.
Right.
Now, did you stay there long enough to see all of them take off, or did you guys just haul ass?
No, we stayed in the truck watching. When the one took flight, we looked at that thing, and it didn't come towards us. It kind of circled a little bit on the mountainside,
Right.
and disappeared in the backside of the mountain. And we're sitting there going, holy shit. And we watched them, and they kind of just shuffled into the trees, but I don't remember seeing all of them take off. I remember the one.
Okay.
Right.
Now there's a lot of stories about the Thunderbird in Alaska. Now there's a lot of unexplored frontier there, so who knows what's living there? And that mountain range, it connects all the way down to the Continental Divide. So they could be following the mountain ranges where they're not seen.
Well, that's kind of like the Squatches. The theory is they follow the mountain range. But here's what's interesting when you were telling about your sighting. You said you figured that the wingspan was like 12 feet. Man, if the wingspan's 12 feet, that's like bigger than a cow flying.
Yep.
Right. Now, that's not far-fetched at all, because I remember when I was living overseas in the Philippines, they had these bats. I'm sure you've heard of them. They call them flying foxes.
Yeah, I've seen them.
And those are big. They're like a dog flying.
Right? I mean, what would you do if you came out and saw one of those hanging out in the morning?
Oh, I did. And I went back inside.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding, and that brings me to the next point. That area, as we know, that area, the McGaffey area, the Cibola National Forest, the Continental Divide area, that area is a hot spot, man.
Yes.
I believe you.
We've heard on the podcast you guys talking about stories where in McGaffey, packing up the campground and getting the hell out of there type stuff, and
Right.
that segues me into
Right. Now,
We do reference that because we live that.
right. Now, when we did that,
absolutely.
do you remember we went picnicking when our dads told us to pack it up? Was Randy, was he there? Or was he?
You know what, Randy? I think you were like in diapers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was little.
Well, when he gets drunk, he's still in diapers.
Well,
but that's besides the point.
Well, that's beside the point. But no, he was in diapers, and I was like,
yeah, because I was young.
I was like 10, 11. That's how long ago that shit was.
Right, right.
I'm not going to tell you my age, but let's just say that shit was a long time ago.
But back to the McGaffey area,
Right.
there's been a lot of stuff going on there. I've heard stories of cattle mutilations. We've heard stories about the Sasquatch in there.
Yes.
You know, who knows? Back in the mountains, there's still a lot of area that no one's been to or explored or.
Right. All right, Randy, continue with your second point. We didn't mean to interrupt.
No. So a few years down the road, I was probably, I want to say I was about 16, almost 17.
Right.
You know, and we were there at that same lake. This time it was at night, and I was with my older brother and a friend of ours. We were hanging out. There's a little dock there that kind of goes out into the lake, and again, it's not a big lake. We're just hanging out, bullshitting, you know, having a good time, doing some night fishing, not catching shit, you know. But we started hearing this sound. It sounded like a scream, right? And not like a scream you've ever heard, you know, like a woman screaming or a man screaming or even an animal screaming, right? If you heard any of the wildcats, you know, a bobcat, a cougar, sometimes they sound like a screaming woman.
Right.
Right.
Right? This was nothing like that. It was one of those sounds that, you know, makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, you know, and we're guys that are used to the outdoors, you know. We grew up, you know, we all grew up like that and
Right. Yeah.
used to it. The cold, it didn't matter. It was fun. It was what we enjoyed. And when we heard that, we were like, what the fuck, you know?
Right.
And my brother and the other guy with us said, what was that, you know? And as we're standing there, you know, it stopped, and then it came back, and it stopped, and it came. And each time it came back, it got longer and louder. And each time a little bit more frightening, you know, you're going, oh, now that's getting close. What the hell is going on here?
Right.
And so, you know, it's dark out. It's probably, I don't know, 10:30 at night. And so the sound just keeps getting louder and louder, and it's a shriek, man. I mean, I couldn't replicate it if I tried, you know, even if I got a synthesizer or some kind of equipment, I couldn't replicate it.
Right.
So as we're standing there, we're standing out on this dock, and they say, man, what the hell's going on? So my brother takes out the rifle and like, well, let's just hang out for a minute. Let's see what it is. As that sound got louder and closer, it started to smell. The air started to smell. And it started to smell kind of, I don't know, what I remember was like a really pungent wet dog.
Right.
Like, you know, you got a filthy ass hunting dog, you bring it in the house and you start bathing it, you're like, man, you stunk up the whole house.
Yep.
Think of that. A lot more pungent and a lot stronger. And we're going, oh shit, well, we better get the hell out of here, you know?
Right.
So as we're walking up the pier, and then you got to go up a very small hill, you know, it's probably, I don't know, 10 foot up to the trucks. We're walking up to the trucks, and they said, stop, what the fuck is that? You know, and we look up on the other side of the road there's a big hill where, you know, it's big enough people come sledding down with tubes and stuff, but it's pretty good size hill. I mean, what is that hill about? Maybe 65, 75 feet.
Right. Yeah.
Up the side of that hill, we saw, you know, we didn't see any detail, but all three of us saw it, and we looked at each other and went, holy shit. It was a very large figure, you know, bipedal.
Right.
I mean, it had to be, at least 9-10 feet tall. It flew up the side of that hill with minimal effort, very few steps. It was, if I ran in my best shape, you know, up that hill,
Right.
it would have taken me at least, you know, a few seconds when this thing was up there. Gone.
Right. Not to mention we'd be winded.
Right.
Yeah.
But
windage, and it's rocky. When there's not snow on it, that thing is rocky. You know, there's tree stumps up the way. And it flew up it with no hesitation. And when we saw that, the smell surrounding us, and not only the smell, the feeling, right?
Right.
I mean, we're not talking, you know, running into somebody in a dark alley and you get that little startle, you know. we're talking, the feeling was like in the air was just like a chill, right? It's a summer night, but there's a chill in the air because of the hair in the back of your neck standing up. You're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yep.
Yeah, your natural instincts kicked in and said, "There's something wrong around here."
Yeah, and it wasn't like so frightening, like that you wanted to run away. It was like, okay, we don't know what that is, so let's kind of be on our guard,
Right, understandable. Yeah.
Right. When something like that happens, you're not used to it, so your mind really can't process it real fast, and that's why you're like, "What the hell is that?" And you kind of get a feeling of dread, and that's
Yeah.
And a few podcasts ago, me and Larry were up in Jemez,
Right.
and we've heard things, and one night the wind just shifted, and we smelled exactly what you described.
Pungent dog. It really was. And we looked at each other and we were like,
I smelled it first. I'm like, oh,
he told me,
smell that?
do you smell that? I said, yeah. I said, where's the dog?
yeah. But if you could smell them from a distance, could you imagine what they smell like up close?
I wouldn't.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, everything you're saying is like so many people have verified the same thing. And, I believe those creatures are out there, and the reason I believe is I had my brother take me to his exact spot. And every time something crazy happens, and if you are a follower of our podcast, we talk about one time when it's just me and my brother out there. We drive this road in, and it's quite a ways in. And to make a long story short, so we could get back to Randy's sighting, we've told you all, we were there alone and we heard someone throw a bottle on the dirt road and it made that doop, doop, doop sound, which is distinct to a bottle hitting a dirt road. Because thus of us who've grown up in the Southwest, we're used to dirt roads.
Right. And we're familiar with throwing bottles because we're always drinking.
That's right. And so that sound alone, I told my brother, I said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "I did." Anyway, I'm going back to an old episode, so I know what you're saying, Randy. Continue.
Now, Randy, you left off when it was running up the hill. Do you guys hear it anymore? Smell it anymore?
It got to the top of the hill.
Right.
The screeching stopped, and you could still smell it in the air for a little bit. At that point, we got in the truck, and we kind of drove around a little bit, drove around that area, kind of looking, shining the spotlight. Could not see anything. It was history.
Yeah, it probably climbed the top of that hill and took off a different direction.
Now, are we talking the hill at McGaffey Lake?
Yes, remember when we used to go on the tubes?
Yeah, okay. Now, think about this. I know you said it was steep. Think about the grade, Randy. That's a steep grade.
It is.
And for like you or me to run up it, no way. It'd take us 2 minutes.
Well, that's in our young days now.
Yeah.
We'd need a ride.
At my age right now, at my age right now, I'm calling Lyft. But anyway, no, I get what you're saying. If you witness something take off up that, not only was it fast, it had to have immense power.
Right. And,
Absolutely.
And pretty good lung capacity, especially if you could hear it from a distance.
Right.
Now, there's documentaries that talk about when Bigfoot yell or scream, the infrasound, is that what it's called?
That's infrasound. It paralyzes you.
Right. Well, they use frequencies that we cannot use. Even some of them we can't even hear. And that's why you said, you couldn't replicate it. But those lower frequencies, like big cats use them, and they're used to instill fear in their prey.
Well, it's elephants, big cats. There's several animals that have infrasound. And what my brother described, they'll do it and it will go. People say elephants can communicate around the globe.
Right.
Because they could do infrasound. And that's crazy. So if a Squatch could do that, just think about, they're all over this country. We've seen sightings. And, one of the reasons I do this podcast with my brother is because I've always believed in Bigfoot. But how many people out there, Randy, have said they've seen something like you just described you saw, and they don't get credit for their belief? People just brush them off and say, well, we smoke. did Larry D supply you? No, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what
You
the
know-
fuck?
One thing I've noticed is, like, see, for me, I'm one of those people. I'm like you guys, I don't really care what anybody thinks. And
Right.
I
Right?
bring this subject up with people. I bring it up with people at work and, friends of mine, and we talk about it. And when you start talking about it with people, I mean, it's pretty amazing how many people, once you bring the subject up and broach it,
Right?
how many people go, you know what I saw?
And,
Right.
and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
Or sometimes people even go, you know what, I've never seen anything, but I would sure love to spend some time in the forest because this is so interesting to me,
right. Now, when I first had my encounter, I told a couple of people at work, and I got a little ridicule. But then there's people pulling me to the side. Hey, can I talk to you? I want to tell you what I saw.
And why would that be?
Right. Well, because they know I've been through it, so I would believe their story.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, this area where you had your sighting, that's kind of a hot spot. I want to say about 6 months ago, maybe more, we had your nephew on, and he had an encounter on the back roads in those same mountains.
That's right.
Yeah. And, when we were up there, him and I actually talked about it. I was telling him, that's who I was talking to, and I was telling him about what was going on up there in the birds and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking about his encounter, and he was showing me what roads it was on. And so we said, you know what? Next time I come into town, we're going to take that road and spend a little bit of time out there and see what we see, see what happens. Because
Well, yeah. Yeah, and next time you come into town and you guys do that, we'd love to go with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Yeah, because that area, I know a lot of guys that I grew up with, that have hunted that area and stuff. And people hear more than see a lot of strange things up there.
Right.
Right.
And again, it sounds that you've never heard, I mean, I've spent tons of time in forest, all over the country, hunting and fishing and whatnot. And that stuff that we've heard that night, I've never heard that.
No, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Look, I'm going to take you back to when we're going to go to episode 1 of our podcast when we talk about my brother taking me back out there. It didn't take long, Randy, when we were out there camping till I heard like 2, 3 in the morning, and I was asleep, and my brother hit me and said, "Hey, do you hear that?" The screams I heard, I know no mortal man could make those. This is something that 10 times as powerful as me. I could scream in that forest and no one's going to hear me, Randy. But what I heard this night when that creature, I'm going to say creature, when it screamed, you hear it blatantly and faintly, but you're like, I'm in the forest, and if that person
travels, yeah.
must be on top of a hill and screaming, it was still loud.
Right.
Yeah. And I think about this, right? We all listen to pretty much the same genre of music, right? We listen to metal.
Right.
And
Right.
some of the stuff I listen to some pretty crazy heavy stuff, with these guys that really condition themselves to growl and do some of this crazy screaming. And,
Right.
if you ever listen to Lamb of God, you hear some of the sounds Randy Blythe makes, right?
Right.
Right.
And you go, I could never do that because my vocal cords don't work like that.
Right.
And you think about some of the sounds we've heard out in the forest. I mean, even guys like Randy Blythe and them,
They couldn't do that.
they could not make those sounds, it would blow our vocal cords out.
Right.
And according to some of the documentaries we've watched, the reason is their vocal cords, they could hit the pitch that we hit and mimic us, as well as they combine what the vocal, that Navy guy that does vocalizations for.
Right.
He said they combine like eight vocal pitches at one time. And as
Right.
to where we do what we do, and that's it.
He's the one who analyzed the Moorhead,
Yes,
the samurai sounds.
right. The
And-
Roger
Right.
Moorhead.
And now, Randy, even if, say, not even the growling or nothing, just a sustained scream, what we heard, there's no man who has that lung capacity. I don't care if you're a professional singer, whatever.
David Coverdale couldn't
No
have
way.
done what we've heard.
No, you listen to some of these opera singers, right? Some of the opera singers have amazing lung capacity, but they can't match it.
No, not even close.
Hold on. Yes, they do. Even the big men that are great opera singers, Randy, and they can bellow it out, they can't go into the forest and bellow out what I heard at the baritone level. This was like something that had fucking testosterone to the 10th power going, "Rah." You know what I'm saying?
Right. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry, Randy.
No. And also, to add to that, you think about the elevation you're at up in those mountains, right?
Right.
When you're in that elevation, you automatically lose lung capacity. You have to go to those mountains and train for months
That's what boxers
in order
do.
to be able to have that lung capacity.
Right.
And boxers, UFC guys, yeah.
Yes, because when we go up there, it's not because we're fat, but we're short of breath because of the elevation.
It is. We got to climb a hill to do our business, and we both come back fat and sweaty.
Yeah, so we just decided not to eat while we're up there.
That's right.
Now, real quick, this area we go to in the Hamish, Randy, which, by the way, when you come, we want to take you there.
That's right.
Because I believe we found a good spot. I believe they travel it. There's a game trail up on the mountain.
They do.
Now, and that's why I think we're close to their territory. That's why we even get some kind of activity during the day. Now, when the night falls, it lights up more. But this last time we're out there, it sounded like somebody was walking around us on the mountaintops squeezing a gas can.
Yeah. You've had a gas can, the 1 gallon ones, and you push it in and it goes clunk, clunk.
Yep.
We heard that forever out there, and I was like, what the fuck? Who's got a gas can walking around? I'm like, don't they know they could get shot because we're getting irritated?
But if you see how far we are out in the middle of nowhere, and we always joke, if you want to test your manhood, go out there at night.
Right. Seriously. Come on.
Yeah, but next time you come, Randy, if you got some time, we'd love to take you out there for a while. And I don't know, just something, because we've always have something happen.
We do. But here's the thing. I mean, we started talking about your sighting with the Thunderbird, and we got on to Sasquatch, which we love to talk about. And we're willing to take you out there with us so you could experience what we do. But back to your initial sighting, I believe you, but I'm amazed that there's some birds out there flying around with the 12-foot wingspan, because if you look at the eagles in Alaska, they have about 7-8 foot wingspans, and those birds when they fly, they're majestic.
Right.
They're the symbol of America. That's why America said we want those birds to represent us. Now you Semper Fi, us, the squids, and my daughter, the chair force and whatnot. Look, we all served, and we know what that means to us.
Right.
Yep.
And
But real quick, I watched the documentary, and it was about someone in Alaska. They saw what they thought was a Thunderbird, and in Alaska, there's a lot. You have to fly to go from one town to the next.
you do.
And they said this bird had this almost the same wingspan of a small Cessna.
That's a
Yeah.
what I say earlier. That's a small cow rolling.
Okay, but yeah.
Bro.
Real quick before we end this podcast and let Randy off the hook, I want to ask him. Now, I believe it was last summer you and your boys were planning a camping trip.
Oh, that's right.
Now, there has been reported in Arizona, I guess the mountainous area, of Bigfoot sightings. I have a friend.
Yeah.
He goes camping there. They rent a cabin, but him and his brother were down at the lake fishing, and it's not too far out of a small town, but they heard tree knocks. Now, did you experience any of that on your camping trip?
No, but what we have done is we have the Bigfoot sighting map,
right.
and so we're hitting all those spots.
Oh, right on.
So we want to go to the heavy spots, and up on the Mogollon Rim, there's a lot, and there's a big friend of mine just told me about a trail that you can take that's It's actually off the I-17, but it takes you up onto the back side of the rim,
Right.
and heavy, dense forest, and there's been a lot of sightings up there. So we're looking at the sightings map and where all these sightings have been reported, and there's a couple of big organizations here that are tracking Sasquatch, and so they produce these maps, and a lot of people, they clear those areas, but I guess we're a little, I don't know, retarded. I don't know what you want to call it, but we want to go to those areas. We want to find that habituation area.
Right.
My little guy, he's like, man, we got to go Sasquatching, Dad.
Yep.
Oh, let's do it.
Well, remember, just take them fresh cookies.
That's right. And that's just
That's right.
human curiosity.
Right. And
Nothing else.
I think now you would have a better chance of having some kind of an encounter because we're in a drought, especially here in New Mexico.
Right.
So they come down off the higher ground looking for food and water.
That's so true. I mean, look at the state of the planet. So that the tree huggers say, I'm all for it. I'm not really a big tree hugger, but I'm like, I'm for it. Let's keep some clean water.
Right. No, I'm not a tree hugger, but I'm all about respecting the environment. If you pack it in, pack it out.
No, and
Yep.
not to get off subject, but I did get pissed off when I went up to where we go, the Jemez. I saw so much litter by one of the pristine streams. I was pissed.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It is. Because you know what? That's where the Squatches live, man. Let's respect where they live.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and not only them though. There's those of us that are hunters and stuff. And we want that's our lifestyle, and we want to go up there and enjoy these things. We want the animals to thrive, and
Right,
not just
exactly.
to go kill them all and eat them or whatnot. But we want them to thrive because those areas that's our getaway, man.
Right.
And if we trash them, then our hobbies are gone.
Hey, how would we like it if a herd of deer came to our property every morning and took a shit?
Yeah.
Right?
Think about how you feel when you walk out to the front yard and some kid has walked by and threw a soda can on your
Exactly.
property,
He's going to get hit with the
Taking somebody's
newspaper.
ass.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's when you accidentally let the dog out.
Yeah.
That's why the Squatches are throwing shit,
That's right.
Take your shit off.
Yeah, exactly. They're telling us, here, get this out of here.
It is.
Yep.
Anyway, you know what, Randy? Thanks for sharing your story with us tonight. We appreciate it.
And we'd love to have you back on again.
That's right.
Because,
I know you got more stories.
Right.
Let's do another episode.
yes, because you grew up in the same town we did, and you can't tell me Gallup's not rich with the paranormal or just a bunch of crazy shit.
That's right.
Crazy.
That's
I could
right.
tell you guys stories about the old cemetery on Aztec.
Well, we want to hear them. If you could tell them, we want to hear them. So we'll set up another date and time for that.
Yeah, be awesome.
Anyway, thanks for being our first guest on the call-in.
I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, my honor.
I'm afraid to say, but you broke our cherry.
You did, man. You did. Now I'm gonna.
Hey, time would have to come sooner or later.
Hey, but we picked the right person to do it with.
Right.
That's what we said.
Right
We got the technology. Our first guest is going to be Rehab Randy.
Right. And we're looking forward to your next visit so we could do some squatching.
That's right. And all you people listening, if you want to see who he is, go to YouTube, type in Rehab Randy, and you'll know who we're talking about.
Or go to Pornhub. He's there too.
And it wouldn't help. It wouldn't help if you donate to his cause. I don't know if you have a cause. Make a cause for us, all right? Anyway,
I'll create a cause for the next podcast.
that's right. Anyway, this has been so fucking cool, Randy.
Right. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
and your story, yeah, I've been to McGaffey so many times, and I've never seen a Thunderbird, but I'm not going to doubt you. I mean, we went to McGaffey many times, and
But every time we've always heard creepy shit at
it's
night.
creepy out there at night. It really is.
It's not Hamish creepy, but it's creepy.
It's not Hamish creepy. Come up. We want to take you to do Hamish creepy.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, hey, thanks for coming on the show and sharing. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Tell your friends about it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Right.
Peace out.
Peace.